How are you?
Oh, good. How are you doing?
I met somebody today that wanted to start selling something online. Mama Thon, have you ever heard of her? No, well, here in town, she does retail warehouse clothes, like home decor. So I was like, you should talk to John because the guy he has figured out the shop over.
We got that dialed in. You'd be surprised.
Yeah. So I was like, you should go talk to John and say he knows all about that.
Yeah.
Very good.
See you. Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
Hi. Hey, how are you doing?
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Leaving out to Kansas City.
Go ahead. That's what he's been up to.
Just working.
Yeah.
You will send out a broadcast email real quick? You will send a broadcast email out real quick? I just posted a new post. So they just have to go to the homepage and they'll be able to see it.
Yeah, yeah, where you go. Oh, yeah, we ended up running that.
So what subject line you want?
Streaming live. Yeah, sounds good.
Over by the registration desk, box.
So you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it on now? Yes, it's live right now. Can we see where? SCVinternetmarketers.com. It's the very first post. Yeah. Doesn't need points.
Good evening, everybody. Just want to go over a few things before. How many of you are the first time here? Anybody else? Okay. I know there's going to be a few more that will be joining us, so I saw them outside and around. But I wanted to get started with some of the highlights I guess for tonight. One is we are going to be live streaming tonight's broadcast, and if it works well, then we'll continue streaming maybe in the future after this. So if you ever want to see it, you can go to the SCV Internet Marketers website, and we'll have on the first post, usually during the night. And there, so you can go ahead and see it. I guess from this point on, if Stephen can run it, or at least show me how after, then we can figure out how to make it run more often. For those of you who are not signed up with Meetup.com to get the emails, that's where I recommend most people find out about what's going on with the Meetup group. I usually send an email blast once or twice before a meetup to let people know what's going to be talked about if I have an agenda. And also, more importantly, is if I can't make it for some reason, then I'll always try to find a substitute to make sure that it keeps on running. Barnes & Noble's one of the agreements they have that of having this meetup group is that if I can't make it, that somebody is always a backup, so it never gets canceled. And for I guess 3 or 4 years that we've had it, I think I've missed once or twice. One because of the flu, and another because I think I was out of town. And yeah, we had people covered, which was not a big. Actually, they did a very, very good job because the format usually stays the same. Tonight every once in a while I do have guest speakers, and tonight we have Anthony Frank, who's going to be speaking about an event that he's gone to recently in Las Vegas, a place where you can source product, which is pretty cool because a big trend on the online system is now moving toward selling physical product. In the past, a big part of the online or money-making internet world was dealing with multi-digital products. We did have, when eBay launched, a huge monstrous trend of people jumping into the eBay market, and that was pretty cool. I guess Etsy also did a big push at one point where a lot of people were talking about doing stuff on Etsy, and then it went back to digital products where people were using Udemy and making their own online products. So there's fluctuations in the market, and now one of the hottest trends is to actually be making an income selling stuff on Amazon, physical products. So this has been a market that's been around a while, but over the last 3 years, it's really, really taken off. So sourcing product has always been one of the biggest challenges for anybody who wants to sell stuff online. What can I sell and where do I get it? And one of the big, I guess, secrets is to go to China and walk around these huge warehouses and find the manufacturer that'll sell stuff. But as cool as that sounds to do, it's a lot of work to go and work it out. But I guess what Anthony's going to be sharing is that there's a conference out here that most of the distributors, or a lot of them from out of the country that have really cool stuff, they come to Las Vegas, and then it's just a drivable distance for us to go there. He'll be sharing what he learned while he was there, and also a little bit about networking. If I remember, that's what he also said, which is a really something I've been pushing since we started this Internet Marketers Group, or since before I was running it. Will Matos, who used to talk about sourcing, networking, and the importance of going to conferences and getting to know other people in the industry. And when Anthony mentioned that was part of his talk tonight, as I thought more about it, my whole life in today's realm revolves around, other than family, everybody I've met through this Internet Marketers Group. Everybody, people other than like my job. I mean, I guess, but even at my job, there's people that I know because of this Internet Marketers Group who have joined in, and it's been really, really cool to see, or to really take a look at everything I do today outside of my job and family is all dealing with people who have met because of this Internet Marketers, because the networking that goes on from conferences, and even business today. Business is booming because of connections that have been made because of this, and it's one of the reasons I do it, but also because the greatest people in the internet marketing world are in Santa Clarita. gotta be. I mean, I don't know. You go to conferences, you meet some really, really nice people, but Santa Clara it's untouchable how nice people are and how much they really share stuff. So, I guess the other thing is in December, we don't know yet if that's the only other month that we usually might miss a meetup depending on their schedule of when they use this room for storage or not. Last year, they allowed us to do a meetup. I still would like to do also a contest. For those who don't know, I try to do a contest once a year that gets prizes given out like iPads and what else did we give? Barnes & Noble Nook, gift cards, all kinds of different things that are usually pretty fun to do. They involve doing either like YouTube videos or doing blog posts or doing something dealing with, I guess, online business, or at least getting started with getting your feet wet right online and building up consistent habits. Other than that, because I know Anthony has a lot that he's going to be able to share with us tonight, and I've also asked him to leave some time for Q&A, mostly because I have a lot of Qs that I know that I'm going to be able to get some answers, but also because Anthony knows a lot more than just what he's going to be talking about specifically. So there's some opportunities for, I mean, if you don't mind, I'm going to bring up some of the specialties that we have outside of this after he's done as well. That he hasn't shown up in a while. Every time they tell me, he just left me down. So that when people have asked questions, they say, oh, there's a guy I know, but he's not here. I can't ask questions. But he does know a lot about Facebook marketing. And that's one thing, if at the end of the presentation about the other stuff he's talking about, there are some things I want to ask about Facebook that I'd like to pick your brain about, because I know that he's going to be coming out with another Facebook marketing probably course that will blow people's minds about techniques that are out there. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and bring up Anthony to talk about that.
How many people have spent at least a month trying to find a product to sell on Amazon? They solved it for you. It's right here. See this guy in the hat right here? You better thank him, because I wouldn't even know this convention existed if it wasn't for his ideas. But what I want to talk to you guys today about is a little bit about networking and also about ASD online. But first, kind of on Chris's note, you know, I'm a product of this room. I knew nothing at all about internet marketing until I came to this room. And I sat in the back and I asked questions, and Chris told me the answers. And then I just went out and did what he said to do, and it worked. And it was enough to have a little bit of success and get excited and stay in it and do it some more. And then I met guys like John and Doug, Carlo and Barb, and Margie and Mike, and everybody else that's here, and then recently Kirk and his wife. And it's just like, it's all about giving it back. It'll all come back to you again and again. And I'm all about sharing, and these guys know I don't hold things back. And I came across Kirk, and I met him at BioMixers. Anybody else in here a Bio member? Just the three of us, huh? Okay. Well, Bio is a Bio-invitation only networking group, and it's here in town. It's run by Ed Bernstein and Marlene Bernstein. And it's for established business owners that are A, already been around for 5 years, B, are abundant thinking, and C, they're grateful and they're willing to share. And it's a very intimate group. There's probably only 50 of us. We get together in groups of 4 to 6 people for lunch once a week, depending on what your availability is. And you never really meet the same people every time, unless you don't ever change your scheduling. But you get to meet with people that are well established, and everybody gets together and talks about what they're grateful for. And then they talk about something that they're either struggling with or something that they just recently overcame and how they did it. And it really is awesome, because when you tell everybody what you're struggling with, you're making that public declaration of what you need to change. And the next time you come back, you don't want to tell them that you didn't do what we figured out together when we put our heads together about how to solve that problem you're struggling with. So it really helps. Well, I was fortunate enough to bug Kirk a few times to say, hey, can I pick your brain on the side, since we never really get scheduled at the same event. And he said, yeah, and he sat down and he shared a bunch of information with me, and he gave me a lot of pointers. And then he said, you should go to this trade show in Vegas called ASD Online. And I had no idea it even existed. And so I registered, And we went, but even if you didn't get the chance to go, or even if you don't have the chance to go in March, when it comes up again, is it March? You could still register, and the coolest thing is they pair you with everybody that has a booth there, and they give you what's called the ASD Weekly Planner. So they send you an email, they're like, log into the back end of ASD. Here's every single company that has a booth. Here's their website, here's their phone number, here's their company name, here's all the contact information you need for them, and this is what niche or category they're selling products in. So it's like, if you've ever spent months and months, like, raise your hand, I did it for 2 years, trying to find a product, right? Now they just saved you months of time and research. And what's funny, I was telling them at dinner tonight, Will is right. All these companies that can sell you stuff at either wholesale or private label, they don't even have a freaking website, so you're never gonna find them. But at least the trade show, it does it all for you. So even if you can't go and you're interested in getting some information on products, register, and at least they'll pair you with everybody that bought a booth that's looking to sell stuff. And I'll just show you, like, here's a company out of the Midwest that has every licensed college product you can think of, you know, and it doesn't all have to be private label. And that was something that Kirk showed me. It's like, you don't have to go private label your own stuff. You could sell other people's stuff all day long and make money. And if you find a winner, then you can decide if you want to make your own version of it. Here's everything Western wear that you can think of. There's a couple companies. Like, I'll give you an idea. Here's the trade show. Okay, there's 5 buildings of stuff. Every booth had the helicopters for sale, electronic products, bamboo, everything that the ASMers are crushing it with, like the salad bowl spinners and all that other stuff, everything kitchenware that looks white and green, it's all there. I met these guys, they do puppy pee pads by the container load. You know, anybody want to sell this stuff, before you leave, come get the information and call them and take the stuff with you, you know. Baby gear. These things are really cool. They're fish bowls with a light for your desk and a plant grows on top. Like, totally cool ideas. These guys do private label of the SD cards. Here's a bunch of closeout books. There was tons and tons of closeout stuff that could work for your niche, totally. You know, here's blenders, fruit smoothie blenders, private label them, and you didn't even have to buy a whole container of them if you don't want to. All kinds of food and kitchen products, tons of companies, everywhere from China to India to Korea to Indonesia, and then also US manufacturing stuff. These guys, okay, who's ever seen Don Wilson selling t-shirts like Retail Arbitrage on Facebook, right? These guys, you don't even have to touch the product. They have all the licensing for every single fire department, every major band that exists. Like, we're gonna do these ones next week. So it's this breast cancer awareness shirt for firefighters. Facebook ad for these people. You never have to touch the shirts. They're $6 a piece. They'll do all the logistics. You just send them a spreadsheet with the shipping addresses and the model numbers. Every single shirt you can think of. Really, really nice high-end stuff. Nothing is cheap. Nothing looks bad. The guy even told me the best sellers. He's like, I'll tell you the best selling shirts are. It's this one right here with the We the People logo on it. And this other one right here with the girl with the skulls on her face.
Is that American product?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, these guys are right here in the USA. And they partnered with another guy who had a booth right next to them. That guy had the licensing to all the NFL stuff. So you can get direct garment printed beanies with Tom Brady or any of the major players in the NFL on the gear, and then they have it for the shirts. Never touch it all. Just send them a spreadsheet and they'll do all the logistics and fulfillment for you. You know. Here's another one. These people do bags, tote bags like crazy. Every kind of bag you can think of. These bags are $3.50 a piece. You know, you can order them right now, small min orders, nothing huge. And it just goes on and on. How many people are looking for a foldable shovel in the last 2 years? Like, they're there, you know. Everybody just laughing. Everybody's just laughing. That's exactly why they're laughing, because it is a top-selling product that Jason Moore or something. You know, every kind of like in-kitchen item you can think of. Tents. Where's Jamie Santiago? Or Santinella? She's not here. But totally all her like motorcycle gear, leather stuff. They have it all. like everything motorcycle.
Handing those around so we could look up.
Yeah, sure. Everything motorcycle related you can think of, from leather bags to jackets to bracelets, and
That's all American in there too.
totally, totally. But yeah, you know, is it exciting? Woo-hoo! Yeah. American products, right? No more sitting in front of the computer for hours trying to find stuff that you can discover in like 5 minutes and they do all the work for you. So whether or not the prices are there, whatever. This one's for farther. Let's see here. These things, like everything this guy sells, looks like it's made for TV, like as seen on TV type boxing and packaging. You know, tons and tons of products, all available. There's like no mins on this guy. You can order whatever you wanted.
Are they pretty flexible as far as like packaging?
These guys aren't going to private label it, but you could just sell it. But there was tons of people that were private labeling. These people, K Trading, everything you can think of in this catalog, they'll private label it for you.
So, is the price drop in the US or is drop in China, or you still have to get that chip here? Or I mean, in the case of foreign.
If you're buying from China, most of the people that want a private label are trying to sell you the whole container.
And the price is based on is the item merchandise in the state or the merchandise is on the corner?
They're giving you a price for the product plus FOB.
Okay.
Fulfillment on both, or if you wanted to do by air.
Right.
So they're pretty much quoting you, it's this much per unit, you need to buy a container, plus we're going to charge you for the freight on board. Right. So even more home and kitchen products, and I got 2 more bags of stuff down there. But I just wanted you guys to know, you know, yes, ASM works. Yes, the course does work. Yes, Chaz is making like well over $250,000 a month in sales, but it doesn't mean it's the only way. And I asked Kirk to come up for a second and just kind of tell you, most of you might already know who he is, but he's been selling on Amazon long before this freaking course came out. He sold 1 million units of product inside his ASM Central account. So if there's somebody in this room that's going to help you on Amazon, you should at least pick his brain for a second before he goes home tonight and see what he has to say for advice. Might come up this time.
Hey.
I don't know what you want me to say. My name's Kirk Kreger. I've been selling on Amazon for about 11 years. They begged me for 6 months to sell on Amazon before I finally agreed to do it. This is way back when no one was selling anything on Amazon, and you know, the commissions were very, very high at the time, and we looked at it and said, no, and they kept saying, yeah, try it. And so I put a few things on. All of a sudden, you know, the sales were incredible, and we haven't turned around and looked back since. What Anthony is saying about the ASD show is true. It's, you know, there's opportunities down every aisle. The show that you went to is actually the small one. The one in March is the big one. And that's not even the biggest show. You know, 2 weeks later, there was the Magic Show, which is for clothing, shoes, all kinds of other accessories for clothing and what have you. There's lots of opportunities to go out there and find product. Last weekend is our anniversary, so we took a trip up to Northern California, and there just happened to be a show in San Jose for Fix Body and Spa, and we picked up a couple, 3 vendors that were going to be selling their products. So they're all over the place. All you have to do is look and figure out, you know, where to look and how to do it. Yes.
I mean, with Amazon, I mean, I understand that. What is the pricing model? I mean, so if you buy at $10, how much do you sell in Amazon?
It all depends. You got to do your research. That's one of the things I do. I walk around, you know, trade shows and everything with my phone, and I'm scanning. I have you know, the Amazon app, and also have another app, something called Profit Bandit, and you can scan Amazon, see what everybody else is selling it for, what they're selling it for, and then Profit Bandit will tell you, you know, what your profit is.
Does Amazon give you a statistic how many of those items have been sold over
No, that's all super secret. Amazon will actually use that for their own good. If they see something that's selling really well, they'll go out and contact the manufacturer and sell it themselves and cut everybody else out of it. Yeah, we've had them do that with several of our really good products that we started selling really well, and then all of a sudden what's going on? There's no sales. And we see that Amazon, they get a contract with a vendor, and they're selling it, and they get the buy box.
Why don't we do that with chickens?
With chickens?
Chaz.
Oh, I don't know anything about Chaz.
Now, how do you find the users in the Amazon? Are they actually going into Amazon looking for something that they already know they want? Or are people actually just going into Amazon and just looking for
It's a little bit of everything. It's the 14th largest website in the world. A lot of people go on it every day, and they're just searching. They may punch in watches, and all of a sudden they see a ring that pops up, or down at the bottom. Oh, I'd like to have that, and a lot of it's impulse. So, or they might go in looking at pet products, and get sidetracked. It's the internet. They can go in there. Yes.
So do you sell it somewhere else as well?
Yes, I sell on a lot of different marketplaces as well as our own websites.
And how many products?
Right now, we probably have about 10 or 12,000.
Do you have like a team of people that help manage everything that you guys work, or is there a lot of automated software?
Well, we've actually pared down our business.
Up to 12,000?
Huh?
Down to 12,000?
I had almost 200,000.
Oh my God.
And I had a 20,000 square foot building up on Center Point.
Wow.
And about 40, 50 employees.
Wow.
And so we pared it down and figured we quit paying so many employees and rent and everything else, and I can sell less and put more in my pocket.
Less stress?
No. No. Because you still got to, make your net every day.
So are you buying directly from China, or are you actually going to distributors here in the U.S. that get
Well, I do both. I can buy from China depending on what it is. If it's a really good seller, China's going to want to sell you at least 3,000 to 5,000 items before they'll even buy. And sometimes that's beneficial, sometimes it's not. Oftentimes I have a distributor here in the U.S. and there, you just buy regular wholesale. They have their minimum, and you meet their minimum. It's not anywhere near what China is. If you're looking to buy it from China or any other country outside the United States, at the ASD show, I don't know if you get to see, go over to the international sourcing section. They probably had 500 booths there from China, Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, Mexico, all the countries. Their governments support them, so they help them with the logistics of getting over here to sell the products. So you can make some pretty good deals with it. And sometimes it used to be that the minimums for outside the U.S. with the manufacturer were really high. I mean, really high. And they're starting to see that there's people like us in here that just can't do that on a regular basis. I couldn't buy 12,000 different products from China that way. There's no way. I wouldn't nowhere to store them. But if I want to buy 100 or something like that, or several hundred of different styles, then that's something I can do. And they're starting to come around to that more and more.
Are the prices negotiable?
Oh yeah. We had one time back when we had our warehouse, we actually hired a Chinese speaker. She was born in China, and we'd have her call up and talk and negotiate the deals with the people in China. And I figure I'm a pretty good negotiator and everything. They'd give me a deal. She'd get on and I don't know if you've ever heard a Chinese negotiation. Okay, it sounds like they're yelling at each other, right? And screaming and everything. And she come off with a great deal every time. So yes, it's negotiable, especially in China, but they're not going to deal with gringos. They're not. You get a Chinese speaker or somebody that's that's been doing business in China, that knows the routine and how to negotiate with them, then you're going to get a better deal. Yeah, but right off the bat, we don't stand a chance.
What, I just got a curiosity because I learn a lot from people's mistakes more than even their successes. Would you mind sharing one of maybe a couple of big mistakes that have come across?
One mistakes not to be.
That's what. Yeah. For everybody, partners, don't get them. Do not. Already tried. That's the biggest one I can tell you. I mean, yeah, I've bought, yeah, I've bought a lot of product, and some of it's still sitting around. I like to try things out before I, go deep into something. And that's the beauty about Amazon. You don't have to send them 100. You can send them 5 and see if it sells. If it sells, buy 20. If that sells, buy 100. If that sells, buy more. And that's where a lot of people make the mistake. They'll go deep into something by, well, I think this, this is my one big product. I'm going to get it, and it's going to sell like crazy. I'm going to get a whole container from China, and it's sitting in some warehouse. What do they do with it? Nothing. And they invested all their money in that. And they got burned, and what are they going to do now? They're not going to get back into it. Diversify and get lots of other things out there. See what sells. Push those things. If you're selling, green coffee mugs and they're doing well, try a red one.
Thank you.
Which factors help you to sell good in Amazon?
I'm sorry.
Which factor helps you to sell better in Amazon?
Them not being pissed off at you. Amazon's very big, and there's a whole lot that goes into selling on Amazon. It's just not a 10-minute talk. One, I like to have products that are unique that no one else is selling. If I'm selling a dog pull toy, and there's 40 other people selling it, my chance of getting the buy box and actually making a profit on it is pretty slim. But if I'm selling a dog bone with a pig's ear, and I bundle it, and I'm the only one selling that, I got a better chance of making a profit. So I like to bundle things, be unique, don't have the same thing as everybody else. You look at, you go on Amazon, you look at Canon cameras, a 5D. There's going to be 30 people selling it. What do you think that last guy on the list is? How many is he going to sell? Not too many.
Nobody goes to the page.
Yeah.
How do you get position on Amazon? I mean, do you buy position when it comes to
No.
This is also it's just all based on.
Well, if you're talking about a single product where 40 people are selling the same thing,
Right.
a lot of factors go into that. One is price. 2 is if it's FDA, fulfilled by Amazon. 3 is Amazon already selling it? Because if Amazon's already selling it, they're going to have a buy box 99% of the time. Even if your price is cheaper and you're selling it. Then they also look at your on-time delivery, your feedback ratings, your seller performance. There's a whole, they'll never tell you what the formula is, but there's a whole formula that they use to determine who gets that buy box. So you could look at somebody that has 2 products selling for exactly the same price, and one has a 100% rating in feedback, and another one has an 84. That's part of it. So no one will ever tell you, so it's hard to tell you. Right. A lot of that's secret.
Do you advertise, and if so, where do you get the most juice on your advertisement? Is it Amazon,
I've tried Amazon. I do not do any advertising with Amazon. Nothing.
So you do Facebook or?
I've done Facebook, AdWords. I do remarketing, a lot of different things. Remarketing. So you go to Amazon and you look at a pink sweater, and then you go to another website, and all of a sudden there's a pink sweater just like the one on Amazon being sold. That's called remarketing. What your browser's doing, it's looking at, you looked at this before, it puts it in your cookies, and there's other websites that rent out their space, and that's remarketing. Very effective.
Any other questions for Kurt? Thank you, Kurt, for
Yeah,
sharing.
thank you.
Man, I'm glad I met him at a networking event. Right? So the thing with networking is, like Ed says, if you go to 3 events a month, you meet 3 people at every event that you really don't know, and you follow up with them 3 times, your circle will grow and grow and grow and grow. And that's how we met, and that's how we both met 70 other people today at a lunch, doing exactly the same thing, showing up to an event, meeting 3 people we didn't know, and getting introduced to 50 other ones that got up in front of the mic and said who they are and what they do. So, and it pays, So I will let Chris ask Facebook questions, or whoever wants to ask whatever. And like I said, before you guys leave, you're welcome to come up here, peruse through the catalog, take whatever you want with you. I'm not going to use it all, but there was tons of really cool products.
If I can add a little bit on.
Absolutely. This is the soft-spoken expert that doesn't like to talk, but she knows plenty. She knows plenty.
Yeah, right. No, when you pick a product that you like, but you don't necessarily have to pick a product that you like, because your taste is not the same as other people. Even if the item is ugly, and there's always somebody that is gonna like it. And when we started our business, we had a store, and in that store we used to come. We were in San Diego, so we used to come up to LA to buy jewelry, because that's where we started jewelry. And so our daughter and the 2 of us would come, and then we'll go and say, okay, let's pick up the ugliest piece that you can think of. So every one of us will pick the ugliest piece to our taste, right? And guess which ones will sold first?
Really?
The first
Every time.
Every single time. So lesson learned.
Yeah.
Don't just go for your own taste. Like,
You don't have to like it.
but that's what okay, buy it, because that's gonna sell. So, and
That's awesome.
That's one thing that you don't necessarily have to do or to pick the product to your taste. It's just like, I wonder if somebody would like this. It's just like, for me, it's $1,000, maybe somebody would like it. It's like, also, I made a necklace once, and it was, for me, it wasn't selling. It was like, I wasn't satisfied with that. And then I was going to undo it and redo it different. So he came and says, no, somebody's gonna come and buy that necklace. Don't do that. So, like, the next day or a couple of days after, somebody came, and she almost cried when she saw the necklace. It was yeah, I'm not lying to you. So she said, you know what? I've been looking for this necklace my entire life. And she bought it. Like, I think
I think the price went up too.
yeah, something like that. But I mean, it's just unbelievable what people like different than you do. And so, with that being said, you have to look. If you're going to sell on Amazon, you have to look for the companies that they will provide you good pictures to stuff like that. Because
Good what?
if
The good
somebody
photos of the products.
if somebody gives you a catalog and says, here is my catalog, I want a digital catalog. because I mean, here they are. Because we used to work with catalogs because when we started going to the ASD shows, and we would walk the entire show, and we would find a single vendor that wanted to give us pictures. It was very difficult to find vendors that wanted to give us pictures. So the only vendors that we would work with, it was the vendors that would give us pictures, because we didn't have the time to buy or to take pictures of 20, 30,000 items. So like 3 or 4 years later, everybody said, here's my catalog. You know, everybody's
Here's the CD, here's
here's
the
the CD.
flashback.
But it was just incredible the way that the internet marketing has been evolving, because now it's like, oh, here my entire catalog, because they know, and we work with several vendors also that we had to download the pictures and to do all the work, right? Yeah.
Yeah, just a side note, since we've downsized, this is one of our old employees, Daniel, and he worked in our graphics department and did an entry and SEO and everything, web design. So he's a very talented guy. He's been with us for a long time.
Awesome.
So he can answer some questions for you.
Cool.
But yeah, so it's just you have to really, if you like the product, you have to try it just a little bit and see how it moves. Doesn't move, don't buy too many, so you don't have to cry too much when your product is
When you gotta donate it to-
you have to donate it to the
somebody.
shelter or whatever. But it's very for the features and the type of product that you like. If you have really a passion that you're really gonna dedicate to one item or one type of items, you know, goal, for example, and you don't jump into football or soccer or whatever. You're just gonna do goals, and you're gonna find all the styles, all the whatever it is that you're gonna sell. Well, that's your passion. That's what you do. But if you're just gonna sell whatever it is that sells, just go for it. Go find the things. The other thing is also a good advice. I think it's your price. If you cannot compete, do not even touch that.
That's why you need to, walk around the shows, look at the prices, check Amazon.
How do you guys get the small quantities test? Like if you know that this might be a winner and you said throw 5 up, but how do you just get 5 from a vendor? Do they, most of them allow
No.
you?
No, you go in there and say, yeah, I want to buy wholesale, but I just want to start off with 5. Their bullshit meter goes up real quick, and they're going to say no. Most of them have a minimum of $100, $200. You look at a couple different products that they have. Okay, I'll take 5 of these, 5 of these, 5 of these. And if you really like, only one item, and you think it's going to sell, you might buy 20.
Yeah.
But I mean.
So they're not necessarily minimum quantities of, they're minimum dollars, what you're really saying.
Yes, that's
Okay.
for the most part of the vendors, that's the way they.
And it depends on what price range you're selling on.
So normally when this is the way that we learn, when you are not very sure of yourself, what you're doing, you are still exploring, you just go like, you know what the hell you're doing. And talk to them, and talk and say, hey, what's your minimum? Where are you located? If you're in New York, forget it. I don't deal with people in New York because it's too far. You pay shipping. Then they send you whatever they want, and they send you half of your order. And what are you gonna do? You can return the product, but then you wasted your time. Your money's distracted, and it's just so. We normally deal with people in LA or in this area. So
Santa Clarita.
but the thing is that you're gonna talk to them. You have to ask the right questions so they know that you know what you're doing. So that you have the power of buying their stuff. It's,
Yeah, and I would even add to that, the more you talk to the vendors, the more you know the lingo, you know what questions, you've been told the answers, so you know what to ask the next guy. And then they do know that you know what you're talking about, and they're more apt to want to do business with you rather than being like, this guy doesn't know what they're doing. Why would we even waste our time talking to you again?
But the game, is the game played with the price, with the buying, or with the managing the inventory? It's more so managing the inventory. But when you buy a certain amount of, 1,000 items, 1,000 units of specific products, what is the percentage that you know that you're not going to be able to sell? So you know what? I don't sell at all. I mean, is it really that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like you play chess. You don't play with just 3 pieces. You play with all of them.
Yeah, but you have to take notes.
Yeah, you take losses, you take games, and that's why you don't get too deep into one particular thing, and that's going to solve.
At what particular point you decide to liquidate, sell on their lots?
You just got to go through it and figure that out yourself.
sometimes you give them for 25 cents if you go to buy a contest.
Oh, I'd like to share for those of you who are wondering or that might be curious about what happened, because for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about yet, I sell a product on Amazon called Pet Trainer's Choice. It's a dog spray. It cleans up urine and other matter that comes out of dogs. But it's basically an enzyme cleaner that works on that. And during last year, November, sales started going crazy. I got overexcited and I ordered a whole bunch of inventory to replenish because it was going to deplete. And last 2 months ago, I got a notice saying that I have to pay an enormous storage fee because all that inventory I bought, I was selling 10, 15 bottles a day, went down to January 1st, went to 1 bottle a day. And I bought like, I don't know, 800 pieces or something like that. So I was still at about 750 pieces or whatever it was by the time they came around and said the storage fee is going to be, my bottles actually take a lot of space. So the problem is that when they get my case, they unpack the bottle, they put it in a plastic bag and they put it in a bin. So these bins, they don't stack like boxes. So they're charging me all this space that I'm using up at their warehouses. It was about $1,000 or a little more than $1,000. They're going to charge me for storage fees because they've been there for longer than 6 months. So really why she said they don't sell for quarters, because first thing I thought is all that inventory was actually profit. A lot of it was profit from what was made from all the sales that were being coming in. So there wasn't going to be really a loss per se on that way. So instead, one of the things that helps sales is your momentum. So what I decided to do is try to do a 25-cent sale, get a coupon code out there, and sell a bunch of product at 25 cents, because every time I sold one for 25, what typically would happen is I would sell a full price one, right? Either behind it, because the momentum of my listing gained so much traction. So that didn't do too well because, again, like most people, you get a little afraid of letting that coupon go too far, because your inventory can wipe out. There are scary stories about networks of people that are like have hundreds of Amazon logins, and when your code gets out, 400 or 500 people will all buy it, and then they'll ship it somewhere to sell it on their own, or they'll compete back with you on Amazon. It's a very rare thing to happen, but it can. If you over-advertise it and get into some networks that these people just kind of wait around for, you'll see things like that happen. So I got a little nervous about it. I ran it for a little while, did sell some things, but what was really cool is that Amazon contacted me for, I think, what is it called, lightning deals? Yes. Good. So they said, hey, you got a lot of inventory. We have a lightning deal special that's going to be coming up. Do you want to be part of it? You might get approved. They said, submit your information and how many units you're willing to do it. And I was thinking, okay, I'll start for 50% off, and maybe even more, because I'll break even as far as my cost would really go on that way. And unfortunately, they only allow 20% off max. They can go 15 or 20. Those were only 2 options I had. So I said, I'll do a 20% off discount, which still let me profit, and I'll go ahead and let them see what they said. I'll do up to 600 units to see if they'll accept it. Within about 3 or 4 days, they came back and said, you've been accepted. Here's the date that it will launch, and just to let you know where to go. And I guess, I didn't know this, a lightning deal is only for a couple of hours for your product. It rotates with other products. So yours comes up, it's only on sale for like 2 hours, and then it disappears. Well, in 2 hours, I sold 80 units. And like I said, with making a profit and the momentum behind that, then I was selling like 60 units the next day. And I also used a marketing list that Steve had a connection with people in the pet industry. And he was able to push it, what was it, 99 cents? Was that the 25 cents?
Yeah, that was 25 cents.
We did a 25-cent special first, and then it got cut off, and then he did again another glass at $2.97. We heard that whether you do a markdown of $1 to $2 to $3 is pretty much the same, because it's such a great discount that you'll get the same. Might as well go a little higher. So we did that, went a little higher, still got a lot of traction off it. In the end, instead of them taking $1,000, I got an $800 check that came in after that 2-week period. But that's because they didn't take the $1,000 and they said they were going to, which was good, because with the lack of inventory now, they did say that my charge is only going to be $500. And I still have time as I sell. It's actually bringing it down. So I may do another special to go and bring it up, but in the end, I mean, I'm losing. I don't know, and maybe you guys know, that inventory that's sitting there, I won't get hit again for another 6 months, or will they look at me again sooner than that?
I believe it's every 6 months.
So if they're going to relook at 6 months if the inventory is still there, but it's now going to be double the amount per unit of charge that I'm going to have there. So I'll be gone with that. The cool thing is that my supplier in the meantime has contacted me, and I didn't know, but they have a lab, and they said any product I want made, which I've been looking for. There's a mainstream competitor on the market that makes a certain product, and I said I need something just like it, and they said we can make it. And so I'm going to have a second line coming out with in the pet industry again that will hopefully do well. I did hear that there are very specifics that certain pet trainers say that will make a difference. So I need to get back with the supplier and see if there's certain formulas they can make. So for those of you who are into, I guess, markets that sell kind of chemical stuff, I guess there's labs all over. Even vitamin labs that will create stuff for you and your components and everything. Yes.
One of these days, I can talk to you about private label, or I can talk to everybody about private label. What the labs can do. I got a little bit of experience with that.
You know what? Next month, yeah, if you're going to be in here, I definitely want to give you the floor for some of that, because what they were telling me about the labs, it's really cool, because then it's your own product. Even for mine, I mean, I kind of should have realized this, because when I was looking around for my pet spray, I knew that's what I wanted to get into, was that pet spray market. People were saying, what smell do you want? What flavor do you want? How strong, or how this and how that did you want it? I knew more about pet spray chemistry than I could ever imagine, and but I didn't really, I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about, will you help me get a product on the market, period. I'm not thinking about formulations. And now that I'm a little more advanced in what we're going into, at least I know what products I can now look into that I want special formulations for. And yeah, it'll make a difference, because when it's your own product, you're not competing with somebody else for the buy box. It's your own. And that's what's really cool about the private label side of it. But yeah, Kirk, I'd love if you speak a little bit more about private labeling out there next meetup, if you have time on that. But I want to also ask. Oh, and sorry, I'm really ADD. But he brought up SEO, and I wanted to bring that because I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about SEO almost every time that we come. If you haven't listened to Pat Flynn's most it's smartpassiveincome.com. And if you look on the website, it's the first post that just came out. But click on the green bar here, and you can press right after the site. Smartpassiveincome.com. Yeah, so it's smartpassiveincome.com. He interviews the guy from Backlinko. I think he's the owner of Backlinko. Backlinko. It's an SEO company that's out there, and it is the most relevant 2015 SEO tactics that I've heard. And that being said, I told my assistant she needed to listen to it, and she said, that's stuff we already know. But she didn't focus on certain things that I was very keen on that he had talked about. The algorithms are changing constantly, and people that used to do backlinks and website buildings, a lot of stuff still does remain the same. But some of the better things that are out there that people are talking about is Google is starting to use more of the analytics metrics that are in the system. If you think about how will Google know what are the most relevant pages out there now, they're going to have to take user visitor data. So what that means is if users are coming to your website and they're bouncing off right away, that has always been an indicator of a website that's not relevant to the search term. So for instance, if I'm searching dog training and somebody has the word dog training and it has #1 spot and the description says best dog training tool, and you should buy this. And when you click on it, you find a red shoe, and that's what they're trying to sell you. What are you going to do? One, you're going to get pissed off, and you're just going to click off. That's normally what happens. But the other thing is, you're not going to stay long. So the two metrics now that's going to be happening is when Google sees how long people are staying and how often they're bouncing off, they're using that as a metric as to decide whether or not this is a site that is very relevant. Like I said, they've always used it as a metric. It's always been there, but they're now putting more. You can tell. Panda is a perfect example. That whole Panda algorithm was all about content. But if you really think about content, what does it do? It makes people stay on the site. It makes people actually go through more. So if you listen to this podcast, that's one of the main things I keyed in on, because I work for a company and I oversee the SEO, and my main focus is PPC today. But still, as the SEO manager, one thing that we're always trying to do is to figure out how we get back to key terms that used to make us a lot of money on sheer volume. We would do 40, 50,000 visits maybe every week on a certain key term. Just by sheer volume alone, we would get sales. A lot of money would come in because people would get there, we'd pique their interest and do it. It's like television commercials. You run a blast of the commercials, just by sheer volume of people that are going to see it, a couple of people will be interested and they're going to buy. And that's how the old SEO worked. You could rank something really high for something semi-relevant and pique a certain amount of people's interest, and they would then buy. But that doesn't work anymore today, because the other 97% that visited the site would be bouncing. So all the black hat tricks, or what the extra stuff that used to work to get people to do that, Google's caught on to all of that quite a while back. And as you're starting to see today, one thing, if you're building websites, what I'd like to ask you about, because I know he said you do SEO, and obviously it's merchandise. It's a lot easier to rank for stuff that's not merchandise when you're looking at like information type websites, and that's what a lot of us will use to drive traffic to like educational, products, e-products, and those type of things. What is the secret to getting people for SEO ranking for individual products, like from stores? Like I had this guy's, my sister sent me a guy's website, said, hey, this is a friend of mine, he has this e-commerce store, and he wants to know what you think of it, because you can do this. So he sent it to me, and it's a nice site, opens up, and there's 25 hovercraft helicopter, the radio control ones, what do you call it? Drones. These drones. And I said, how are they getting traffic? Because for one, yeah, it's a nice site, but there are 7 billion people selling this stuff. And then I started thinking, what is the SEO tactics that this guy would ever use? I couldn't even fathom how would you be challenging this. Do you have any, tips or recommendations on how people can rank product for SEO?
For like a high volume of e-commerce products, what is good is if you have dynamic pulling from your meta keywords and titles, then that gets into your main URL. So every product will have its own unique URL pulled from the title, and also especially having a nice description on that page. And also, like Chris was talking about, people have impulse buys on Amazon because they see items similar to this product. So definitely they keep clicking around, and then they find other interests as well.
So that does two things. That tells me they're clicking around, you're keeping your bounce rate low. That's going to be helpful for SEO, obviously. And opening up a page unique just to that product, which is exactly what Amazon does, because they get extremely high. But when you talk about dynamic,
right? So there are, in the back end of the website, there are meta fields that are for SEO, and instead of filling in 1,500 of those, by hand, what you can do is, for example, on WordPress, there's a plugin called Yoast, and with that plugin, what you could do is put in certain codes in there that will pull the meta tags from the titles, and from basically you could set it to wherever you want. So that changes the URL, which Google loves to have unique URLs. And you have your keywords in the URLs as well. So just doing little tactics like that.
So when you build it, it automatically fills in the meta descriptive title tag information on that. Okay, so that's fundamental. I mean, that's really one thing that was really cool that I started to learn was when you change your title tag on Amazon, your description, for those of you who do sell stuff on Amazon and you're actually changing it, Amazon does exactly that. They have an automated tool somewhere in their back system. So if my pet spray, say I said best dog pee cleaner, and that's my title. What Amazon will do is it'll come through with a bot, and it'll take my new title that I've changed it, and it will make a new URL for my product. And it doesn't delete the old stuff, because I was wondering how, every time I look at my title, Amazon has graciously decided to take control of my listing every once in a while, throw up their own pictures, take their own titles, and lock me out of my own account. Yeah, I don't. Someone even to some extreme at their warehouse took the bottle out of the package, took a picture of it with their own digital camera, and put it up on my listing, all on their own. And then they locked me out. I couldn't go in and do it myself. And yeah, so I told them, hey, somebody put a picture in there that kind of that put it up on there, and they played dumb. And they said, oh, I don't know. They unlock it, and then I can put my stuff back up. But they've also changed my title, and then my URL changed. But what's interesting is that I have links, like I put in emails and whatever that will go to an old link that was, and it never goes away. But what's really cool, how many of you are not familiar with the term canonical? Not familiar. Okay, so there's a canonical is a word to mean in SEO terms, more specifically, I guess, is there's duplicate. If you have a product and a URL that's a website address that says dog pee cleaner as part of the URL that's in there, and then I decide I want to change the URL to something else, so I keep the same exact page, but I decide I'm going to change the URL, so it's going to be dog urine cleaner instead, because if people are searching it more, the word urine is used more highly than pee is used in there, so I'm going to put that up there. But I want to keep the old one. What a lot of people do is they will do what's called a 3-1 redirect. So if anybody hits the old page, it'll then redirect them to the new one. But what Amazon does, instead of keep on creating all these 3-1 redirects to the new pages, they keep the old page up and they keep the new one up. Now, for SEO purposes, that's a duplicate content nightmare. Google does not like to see identical pages that have exactly the same stuff on it. In fact, they will rank one better than the other based on the site's longevity, the site's relevance, the site's trust factors. But in the past, people, bots would come, other people would scrape content from your website and throw it on their own, they'd steal it basically, put it up on their content. And if their site had more pages on it, sometimes their site would outrank yours. So they, but because of duplicate content, Google would only allow one page. Now, in the past, before that, Google will allow multiple listings of the same content all over the place. And then people started just spamming the web with both duplicate pages all over. So Google said, look, we're only going to have one page. If there's duplicate content, only one's going to get the relevant factor on it. Now, what can happen is, like in WordPress, when you're creating new pages and putting in new tags, WordPress will create 4 different pages with tags, with categories, and it's all the same, but the URLs are all different based on how people are finding these pages. So in order for you not to get penalized for having all these multiple pages, they created what's called the canonical tag, which means if this page is duplicate, then this page A is the same as page B, but page B is the page that you want Google to list because it is more relevant as far as the URL perhaps, then you can tell page A with a canonical tag says, canonical, go to page B. So what it does means anybody who still has the old URL, they'll still see this. Anybody who has the new URL, they'll still see this. But Google will not see duplicate content because when their spider bot comes and looks at this page, it says, oh, there's a canonical tag. This page is not relevant. I need to go to this page. It's going to be duplicate content, but this is the one that I'm going to be indexing. And what happens is Amazon, if somebody creates, and if they keep on changing they don't like you to keep changing your titles. That's one thing I've been told. People play around with title changes a lot. You can, I guess, they'll frown upon you. I don't know if you'll necessarily get banned, but you can get frowned upon in that way. But every time you do a change like that, Amazon has an automated thing in the background that canonicalizes whatever the main newest one is. It goes back to all the old pages, keeps it relevant, so it's still there, so that when somebody goes in there, the URL doesn't change. Like a 3-1 redirect, it'll hit the B page. If you have a redirect, it'll change to A, or vice versa. But it'll direct them to the other one and pretty much skip over the other page. The other way, the bots still look at it, but they don't index it. They look at the other page that is told to index, and that's the one that they give it. So these canonical tags, if you think about it in Amazon's terms, and when you're talking about the URLs being relevant and unique, that's one way Amazon's, if you want to know about SEO, if you do a product search, Amazon is almost always on the first page. Amazon.com. Whether it's their own product or a vendor's product, they will always be somewhere on the first page because of their authority and just the traffic. And if you think about the relevance factor about what I was talking about, the SEO 2015, they are the best at upselling, cross-selling, keeping you on the site, attracting you to more, especially telling you what other people have bought. In fact, that's probably one of the biggest traps. If I just want to buy a simple iPhone cable, looking for a 10-foot cable, I thought I'd be on in and off in like 8 minutes. Just find what I'm looking for. 2 hours later, I'm still looking at cables because all the suggestions they give, 2 packs, 1 pack, 3 packs, this length, that length, and then of course somebody catches my eye of MCI or something certified. Oh, gotta go back now. Which ones are the ones that are certified? Which ones are not? And what happens? I actually found that if I just throw everything into my cart at the end, and then I just delete the ones I don't want, it help me sort things a lot better. But after 2 hours, I figured that's probably the best way. Otherwise, I would have kept them going back because I can't remember what was the first ones I saw. They are the best at keeping you on their site. And then, of course, can't just buy a cable now. There's cases I was looking at and all the other stuff. So as far as SEO goes, Amazon has a lot to teach when you're going through what they're having on their descriptions. I highly recommend looking at what he was talking about, having a single page go off of a multi-page listing. Now, do you have any recommendations? Because that homepage, I should have bookmarked that guy's site. But when you look at someone's site and there's 40 different products on it, how can he get that homepage ranked for helicopter? Is there a way to do that you know of, or you don't even bother with? You go after models.
Excuse me, before we proceed,
Yes.
can you spell that term for me? Cannot.
Yes, so it's CANONICAL.
Thank you.
Actually a music term.
Yeah.
Just in Google, type canonical tag.
Yeah. And yeah, and so they may explain it better than I did because it took me a while to figure out how it works. Yeah, so that's how it's going.
So Chris, are those tags done as within WordPress, or where do you find it actually create them?
You know what? I found out WordPress. How do they do theirs? WordPress has it kind of auto does it. I use Yoast, the same plugin he does on that one. There is they canonicalize the actual post. Is I believe what they do on theirs because the homepage is always going to be just the homepage. So they actually will send everything to the actual post when you create a post or a page to the actual top level of that page. Whether or not there's tags or there's categories that get broken out, whatever the main post page is that gets created, everything else will be canonicalized toward that.
And that's through Yoast.
Well, I know that Yoast does it. That's what I use. I don't know if I just looked at it after the fact. So let's look at this SCV Internet Marketers. We are actually on the home page. So if I look at the code here, and let me get this bigger. And then you can, yeah, so the canonical for this whole page is the actual home page. That's what it's saying, that's what it's going to look at. Now, if I go to one of the post pages, and then I look for the same thing, then this is actually the canonical for the actual page that just came up, which is the actual top level post page. Now, the reason why this is kind of important is because if I go and look, I can find this page if I tagged it. Yeah, so it's here as well. Okay, this is the same. Yeah, the same post, but if you can't see the URL, but the URL it says scvinternetmarketers.com/author/Steven. So in actuality, this is duplicate content as the other one, but I believe if I look at here, it should tell us. Actually, this might be the author. Yeah, it's going to actually be the author for this author page. I don't know. Do you know how that works on that part? I know that the main post becomes it, right?
Yeah, so in like talking about WordPress, I know that if you change the permalink structure, just automatically adds it to make it user friendly on the CMS. But I don't think there's an actual like a spot you can put like a hard code, as they call it, where you kind of put it in. There's always plugins or what have you that kind of generate that for you, kind of organize it in a structure that keeps it very simple.
I'll look more into that because that's something that's always been, especially since recently I've been really looking at how Amazon is structuring their SEO. Because like I said, they're found everywhere. And I want to know more about how they're doing what they're doing. And plus, this more recent post that's come out. The guy from Backlinko is big on backlinks. And that's one thing he talks about. That's what they do. But his fundamentals, he's by far, he talks about the strong foundations of having really good structure for your website. He talks about the URL, the importance of the title tag, which he even talks about which is the most important. I mean, what he believes. And the guy does a lot of testing. The other thing is that I guess people have tested it. Like if I asked all of you to please go to do a Google search for live meetup Santa Clarita or something like that, knowing that I'm on page 3 and I want to get to page 1 for that, he would tell people, do a Google search for that. Please click on my page. Please click on one other link to get the bounce rate to 0 for your visit, and then stay on there for 3 minutes. And he told like a room full of people to do that, and they got from like page 3 to page 1 in like I don't know, a day or two. Just yeah, with enough people doing that, that was one way to prove the traffic and the bounce link and the link. But I mean, of course, you're gonna have to do that in less competitive terms, because I mean, if people are having 60% bounce rate and they have 10,000 visits a day, to think that you're going to be able to bounce that just by having a small one for the people to get competitive against that, that'd be very difficult. But will all 10 people have that type of momentum for maybe a keyword? You might be able to get the bottom of page 1 against others. So for the SEO
To answer
side,
to your question, remember you had the products for the e-commerce, you had 40 products. So you were asking Daniel of how do you get that one product to the top, and then we can get the answer.
oh, so yes.
I would involve using, well, if it's going to be one landing page that has 40 products and you're trying to gear towards a specific type of keyword, you would always want your, they call it H tags. You got your H1, 2, and 3 tags, and that's what Google looks for when it crawls. So the main one, of course, is H1, which is usually your title of the page. You want that to be your main keywords. And then H2 is when it's kind of like a secondary, and if you basically want to just keep, not keyword stuffing, but kind of have good content within those tags. And also content, like he was explaining, like having good content as well. So when the bots crawl your site for that specific page, they know exactly what you're trying to gear that page towards. And then I don't know if those products will be automatically populated, but you want to make sure that each one of those products have a good title that explain the keyword that you're gearing towards as well. And especially if you're trying to keep them more in a niche, definitely categorize them. You know, if you have like specific types of drones, and for this example, then you would want to put those in different landing pages, because if you keep that certain page too broad, it would be harder to get the specific keyword you're trying to push more to the forefront.
Thank you.
When you're doing that, like say for instance on your site, and you have a blog site, you know, you have a blog, and then you're writing articles. Does it matter like where those words are on the page? Like say for instance, should you write, like if you have keywords, you've done keyword research. So does it matter that maybe the majority of those words that you might backlink are at the top of the page, the bottom of the page, but does it matter?
No, the position of these keywords don't matter.
Okay.
It matters on WordPress, there's like a HTML section.
Yeah.
And it matters where you put those in. So for example, the title, that's your H1 tag automatically. So what you want to do is put the H2 tags and put your keywords in there, and then kind of go from there. And it's like a kind of like a sub levels. So positions don't really matter. If you have a paragraph here and a paragraph here, it doesn't say that this one has less validity than the one on top of it. So it's kind of just looks for the content and how it's structured as well.
How often does Google close a site?
Every so often, if you look into, if you have like a Google Analytics set up in it, you would actually see in the back end how often they crawl it. So you can get reports on how they crawl it and see, kind of get the gist of what's going on and how they're looking at your website.
Yeah, so tools will tell you that. Webmaster Tools will also tell you that, and Google Analytics. And it's even more powerful if you integrate those two together.
But I heard that if you do pay-per-click, every time you do a change to your campaign, it forces a crawl, right?
No. Well, there's two different bots that crawl. One bot is a pay-per-click bot that comes through to make sure that it checks against your relevancy of your keyword, your ad, and your landing page. That bot is specifically for your account. That doesn't trigger the same SEO bot. They actually are almost independent. In fact, a couple years ago when we were dealing with my pay-per-click account reps, they said that it's almost off limits, or there's like no way for them to really legitimately talk to somebody on the SEO team. They said that the SEO team is kind of like is completely separate on what they do, and they have nothing to do. And that bot kind of where that scanning is, they don't use the same bots because their computer systems are actually running different algorithms completely, to figure out what needs to be on, how they're going to rank. They also, if you think about it, the bots that crawl your site for AdWords are also calculating against all the other ads and other key people who are bidding for the same keyword. So when it's going through it, it's running calculations of which ad is the most relevant. It's not caring about who's going to rank organically on that point. And then vice versa, in order for Google to try to say that they're going to be completely separate, that your pay-per-click rankings or your cost of spending is going to make a difference on your SEO, they keep that separate because that bot is just looking at other websites organically. That's all it's looking for. So those two bots are completely separate. One does not trigger the other. But that being said, you're running AdWords, you are going to be getting more traffic. The more traffic you get to your site, the bots come more often. That's another thing. The more changes you make to your site, the bots come. Not changes like edits. Changes like the more content you add, the bots will keep coming back a lot faster. More activity, the more sites.
Define faster. Are we talking about 3 days? Are we talking about...
No, we're talking like between a few seconds to a few days. I mean, the range, if you ever notice, somebody can put up a news post on the New York Times, that goes up within seconds. Right. Indexed. Google indexes. Because of the volume of the site and how much volume of new content goes onto the New York Times website, LA Times, all of those news websites, that's how fast. I mean, you can even see a site and it comes up and says posted like 3 minutes ago. Right. That's how fast it'll go up there. Those sites, because of the traffic and everything, will get those more indexed. Now, some of my websites get indexed once every 3 to 5 days because I never put new content. Or this one probably gets indexed once every 2 weeks because I only put stuff up once a month, if even that. But Webmaster Tools will tell you that kind of stuff. Google knows if there's changes. That's another thing too. Is you create a new page, it sends a ping to Google to come and check it out. And things are getting faster. I mean, Chaz, when he did his SEO on one of his sites, he could put it up, he posted it. By the time he finishes 7 other sentences, he can show you that it's already on page 1. Because it's the activity and the validity of the site, the trust factor, all of that was put together, the strength of it will put it real quick.
And every time you get crawled, your rank changes.
Not necessarily.
But that's they go kind of hand in hand,
Well, every time it crawls your site, it figures out where do you rank within other pages. Because it depends. I mean, if it's a super competitive niche, and your keyword is not as relevant, it's going to keep you on page 20. But if your keyword is, you think about it, if you have 1,000 words on your site, it'll index you for 1,000 different possible locations if all 1,000 words are different, depending on what searches are people. In fact, millions of combinations because it goes 2 to 3 words. Right. There's so many different ways it can rank. It's mind-blowing to think how powerful those computers are to do that and what they do. But that's why Google is who they are, and that's why everybody uses them, because their algorithms are getting better and better and better. And the reason why I like to know how the industry is changing so much is because when I get told, my boss says, I want to rank for this keyword on the first page, I want to do it, and we don't belong there, now I can tell them we don't belong there, and it's because the whole general public will tell Google we don't belong there by bouncing us off every time they come there. We're never going to have relevant content because we don't do what she wants us to do and the keywords is supposed to do by volume anymore. And I love the fact about that because then my user experience as a user for Google is always going to be better. But as an SEO, it does make our job harder, that's for sure, because competition-wise, unless you're in one particular niche and you're always pounding on great content where you're always going to be relevant, when you have 75 different products, that you always have to keep on balancing your time to do it. It gets a lot more difficult because there's going to be one guy who's going to be the drone authority. And there might be 10 guys who are the drone authorities. And then when you come up with one single site and you try to rank your little rinky-dink drone for a product page, everybody else who has better content is going to be taken over first, because anybody who's doing research is going to be the ones that are going to stay, keep the bounce rates low. So that's the other thing. I mean, it's a challenging but fun game. One of the benefits to AdWords, the pay-per-click game, you can buy your way to the top, for the most part. Well, whether you get an ROI on it, that's really going to be up to you of how smart you want to play that game and be there. But for the most part, you can make a relevant page, buy your way to the top, as long as you're willing to pay the amount, and make sure that your keyword and your ad and your page is relevant. All right.
Excuse me, may I have a question? What are the reasons to have a different landing pages? One of them that you mentioned is to categorize the key tags. Any other reason?
Yeah, if you're running PPC campaigns and you want to do what's called A/B testing, you want to see if this landing page works towards another.
Testing.
And so testing is a good one as well.
Any other?
Your question is a good one.
Different content, you might try
Different.
different
Thank you.
content on and see which one does better, or
Can I?
even different markets, if the product is,
Thank
dual use or close to it, or, different pages.
Best reason for
Thanks.
multiple landing pages to see which one converts better. I mean, yeah, testing for conversion is such a key element. And your question is actually, more people should be asking that. Because one of the biggest problems with the PPC market, which gives us, those of us who sell PPC services, what makes us an advantage is that everybody sends all of their PPC traffic to one page, their homepage. And if they just built out separate landing pages, one, it would convert better because the relevancy would actually land on that specific page, and then try to be a catch-all for this. Like, for instance, if someone is trying to buy the gold edition drone, and you have that gold edition drone with the platinum, with the silver, with all these other ones that are on there, and someone searches that, and then you also sell propeller parts all on this one homepage, and someone searches gold edition drone, and then they get sent to the homepage, all the distractions around it, one, is already going to start losing, your conversion is going to go less, because they want one particular product. But if you have a specific landing page just for that gold drone, and you sell the heck out of it, and that's all you're selling on, because that's what the person is looking for, your conversion rate is going to skyrocket.
Thank you.
Yeah, so more people should be asking that question. And one thing, that takes more time. That's what
You guys find if you had like a set of, a new product you want to launch, and this is your first product, and you had like $5,000, would you invest in natural SEO, or would you spend it towards advertising for products?
Well, I think I'd start off with, I get a firm grip on the organic,
Okay.
and then work on the pay-per-click, because there you get instant gratification.
Right.
SEO, he'll tell you it'll take weeks, months,
Yeah.
before it trickles up to the top.
Right.
No matter how often Google crawls you, it's still going to take time to get to the top.
Right.
And in that time, get it first, and then, so that by the time you start, your pay-per-clicks, you're running towards the end of the 5,000 that you could invest.
Right.
The organic will kick in.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, because once your PPC runs out and you don't have a good organic structure, you're back to square one.
Right. Right. You just got to keep spending.
Yeah.
Have another product.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just wondering what's worth putting time into. Is it dialing in your ads and doing, all of your variations in your, test pages, or spending the time and doing articles and images and writing copy and, the whole.
Short answer is yes.
Okay.
May I add something too? I have a business. It is a service. It is not products. It is an academy for teaching English. As you see, my English is not very good, but my academy is in Middle East, so there it is very good business. I started paying to Google for pay-per-click, and Other competitors learned that too. So we paid to Google every day. Who paid more could get more customer. And I realized it doesn't really work for me. Let's first tell you the end of the story. It is now 10 years that my academy is the first answer in Google for Iran. So anyone who wants to learn English comes to my school first. For 10 years, the first answer, always. How I made it? Just by studying the customers. I studied a lot about SEO, spent a lot of time to be technical, but it didn't work. So I tried to learn more about the customers, their questions, their needs, their worries, and what they really need. Now let's get back to here, to America. Yesterday, I wanted to buy a new case for my iPad Air 2. I spent 4 hours searching different prices, luxurious one, very cheap one, the one who had a lot of extra pockets, the one who could care different ways. I wish someone thought about it before and just categorized them for me. A person who likes gadgets, a person who wants cheap products. Which one are you? So I think that we should add to your question, it is not all about advertising or SEO or paying for Google or whatever. It is about making a connection with the customer. So the first step is what he does, helping the customer find the product by a good SEO. The second step is to make a connection by providing a good article, answering all the questions fast, not a very long article. And the third step is to make a tool to make it easier for the customer to compare, to sort, and to choose. And the last step is the best one, to make it that the customer feel you, enjoy having business with you. It's a human touch. It is not something that a robot or a plugin in WordPress can do. You should use psychology, sense of humor, and a good pictures, as you mentioned, to make the customer feel, yes, this is where I should be. So first find it, then make a good article to give information to people, then good tools to compare, sort, and categorize, and finally give them a human touch. So if you have dozens of products, as he does, a good investment could be a person who has studied the customers for each of them gradually and categorize and put good information for each of them. As Amazon does it for free because people write many reviews every day for them. So I believe that whatever technical you do is good to do, but you should add a human touch. Sorry, thank you for listening.
That is probably the best SEO advice 2015. No, seriously, I mean,
That wasn't backlink though. That was exactly what he said.
It's all about your customer. I mean, when you guys listen to the podcast, it's pretty much, I mean, you said it a lot more elegantly than the guy did on the podcast. Trust me. Because your examples are like that.
I want to buy some
But
Shut up and take my money.
Carlos, to answer your question, one of the things that a strategy that, because we do PPC,
Right.
one strategy that, and we do both SEO, but one strategy I would highly recommend, if you have just $5,000 to spend.
Yeah, it was just an example, yeah.
Yes, but 3,500 to 4,000,
Yeah.
you might want to look into going in and building some good landing pages with some PPC, because then it'll start to sell your product. The
Yeah.
other $1,000 is exactly that. You spend it on SEO. Fundamentals you shouldn't really spend money on fundamentals. You should know it and just do it anyway all the time. That's something that you could be just doing, knowing what your main words is. But the other $1,000 is really to answer questions people are searching, because those keywords do not work in PPC. In fact, how to clean the dog's floor with urine. That how-to phrase, I can throw my ad up there all day long. The possibility or the probability of getting a good ROI off that is very low. They don't want the spray. They want to know how to. I can try to cross-sell them with having it put in there, kind of in their view on that. But also, they don't click very much. We get a lot of impressions. My click-through ratios go down. And for AdWords, that's a bad thing. You actually start spending more when your click-through ratio is going down. So you don't want the impressions for things that people are never going to click. And I don't want to put down how to clean and then my product come up unless I have a good landing page that also answers the human touch questions. So one thing that I would start recommending after listening to not only this gentleman, but also because of what I heard been coming on the SEO, is you want to spend, I've been seeing this, I've been turning off a lot of the campaigns that I've been doing, the how to, when should, how do I, and all these other words that I would bid for. I would get the impressions, a couple of clicks here and there, but I probably would never getting any sales. Especially when Amazon, you can't track the conversion, so I don't know. But in some of your descriptions, you should be asking the how to, answering the how to questions by asking those questions in your listing, because Google will pick those up as well. Also, if you ever search some of these terms, the Google question and answer, the Amazon question and answer section sometimes pulls up in organic listings. As far as that gets indexed, and they do it because especially if you ask the exact question, the phrasing someone is searching. So those questions should be done through SEO because you're not going to get a lot of play. In fact, you're probably going to lose money if you use it on AdWords a lot. But you should definitely be targeting it because that adds the human factor to your website. In fact, that's a very powerful way to build a blog on your website. Have a blog section. All it does is question and answer all day long, and then combine questions to answer even bigger, more broader questions that you might not even realize people are searching because it doesn't show up enough. But by answering that, then Google will see you as the authority. That whole human factor gets integrated into that. On your website, do you have questions stated on your website with answers below?
Yes, yes. I do a courtesy for my students. They call from another side of the earth every night, midnight, because we have 17 hours difference. And I listen to their questions. And they say, wow, you spend a lot of time for my question. And I say, yes. What is your question? And then the student asks the question. I cannot speak English. I cannot find the words in my brain. I have problem with memorizing. I have problem with accent, so do I. And I just listen to their questions. Then I wrote them down, and then I write them down, and I make a category of the most frequent questions. Then I do not just answer them. I kill it. I give them that much article, 250 characters or more, with pictures, illustrations, everything from 0 to hero. So when they see the answer, they say, wow, it is something we never can find anywhere else. And I publish it in the website. So one article every month, but better than 10 that you can do every week. One article that everyone else just share it for you and make a backlink to your website because it is the best. So what I recommend is that you make the best article about any subject you want to do. Do your research, make something comprehensive, informative, and not full of words that are rephrase of each other. Something that every sentence counts. And finally, when it is done, use what he does. Just read the article again, make sure that you use the search keys. Do you call it search keys? Or keywords. That you use the keywords enough in the article, not overdo it, not underdo it, just enough. And then make heading 1, heading 2, heading 3 to make the article more sensible for the robots. But if you give the best to the customers as information, they always respond by getting back and referring more people to your website. So in the long term, that's the best strategy, I think.
That's like half the podcast. Yeah. Everything you just said.
Does anybody else, have like maybe storefronts or product that have any other maybe additional comments or questions about physical product and SEO?
I've got a couple of comments I'd like to make, particularly as far as you were mentioning about photography. I was a professional photographer in Vietnam. And so I picked up a few tricks, but I started taking pictures of the products that I'm selling, and I was doing a pretty good job because I found out that the manufacturers, they'll take one shot. And there's so many questions, like how do the hinges work? How does this work? So I just started taking extra shots, and then I started getting a little better at it. That alone really helped us out. I had one product that I just couldn't get. And we had the product on Amazon. We were selling them briskly, but I paid a guy $200. He specialized in product photography, and it completely ran against the grain. I just hated giving money to this guy, but he did a good job. We put the pictures up. Our sales doubled immediately. Immediately doubled. I couldn't believe it.
What was the
I sell safes and vaults. This was a little dorm safe that I was having made in China. There's another story there. But it was white, and we wanted to get a white background, and we wanted to illuminate the inside to show cameras, watches, a 17-inch laptop, and it was just, when you got everything really white on the outside, everything inside disappeared. So anyway, he pulled it off. Wow. And the sales doubled. And that was kind of at the end of the season. So we've changed the color of the product. But I just wanted to point that out, that it made all the difference in the world. And I think additional pictures do. Another thing that the manufacturers are not good at, manufacturers, chances are pretty good they've never actually met a customer. Okay, now a lot of the products I deal with are in two-stage or three-stage distribution. The manufacturer sells it to a distributor, the distributor sells it to a dealer, the dealer sells it to the customer. That's called, sounds like 4 steps, but they call it a 3-step distribution. The manufacturer really knows how to sell that distributor. Like, here's the number of SKUs, you buy this many, here's your price. They're good at it. They haven't got a clue how to talk to a customer. It's a miracle they sell anything at all. I was weaned in manufacturing when I first got back to the States. And then I went into retail, and I realized that I'm speaking one language to the retail customer and another language to the distributor. Well, as soon as we figured that out, we would start talking to the engineers at the factories, and what's this made out of and why? And you'd get so much information. It was absolutely incredible. And then we'd start putting that on the page. That gave us an extremely unique page. It told the customers things that they literally couldn't find anywhere else. Wow. They had better photographs, and sales just started improving. I mean, it's a no-brainer. And what tipped me off, I was dealing with, I was talking to the president of a door closer company, been in the business 40 years, and he told me he was proud to say he had never one time talked to a customer. Wow. And I thought, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And by the way, they're out of business now. Did
you talk to the distributor or to the customer?
The distributor doesn't know anything. I retail stores, so I talk to the customers. To the customers. But I was brought up in manufacturing, so I have no problem calling up the factory and just ask questions. And it can be on a very simple product. What's it made of? Why did you make it out of that? And just shoot the breeze with them and just start making notes. Yes. And in 20 minutes, you can get a whole list of features and benefits that their sales department isn't even aware of. Yes. I mean, it's
as he mentioned, that it is like chess. So if you want to win, you should read the mind of your opponent, which is your customer. You should know how he thinks.
That's what Facebook and Pinterest and
Thank
all
you.
that will do for you.
No,
You get the product out there, and your customers will start asking you questions and commenting on it, and that's where you can have an interaction with it just in online.
Absolutely. Well, I'll even go to business shows like we set up, like we'll go to a home show, and I'll sit in there and I'll sit in the back so nobody pays any attention to me, and I'll just start making notes on the questions. And there's about 100 questions. That's it. What's it weigh? How tall is it? What'll it hold? It's the same stuff over and over and over. So and the manufacturers don't even know that. I mean, they just don't have a clue. It's absolutely unbelievable. So talking to the customers face to face can change your website.
Yes.
Thank you.
I just have a quick question. I really do think I'm on the right track. But at this point, as far as like advertising, things like that, when I did AdWords, it kind of put me in a hole financially. And so now I've kind of shied away from that. So I'm more focused on like articles, SEO, backlinks and articles and things like that. Because I, not yet, can really afford to do AdWords because I know, I've done a study, so I know what keywords that work, and I have an Etsy site. So I see the top keywords and which ones are click-throughs and ranking or whatever, so I'm like solid on that now. So I use those a lot in the articles and things like that. But I just want to make sure is there, I guess what I'd say, okay, AdWords is like if you have the bucks to spend. And then the next best thing under that is that article writing and SEO and keywords and backlinks.
Depends. AdWords is not for everybody. It's not for every product. 100% you can lose a lot of money on AdWords, even if you're doing everything right. If your product is just priced out of the market on AdWords, I mean, if people are just bidding way too high against you, it is an auction. And like any auction, there's a certain price point you should not ever go against if you have it set in your mind, and that should be the price that's not going to get you broke. So, what is your average cost of your product?
My average cost,
Yes.
retail cost,
No, yeah, your retail. How much do you retail?
$25, $20.
Yeah, so unless you can sell, I mean, what is the profit margin off of something like that? 20.
Well, this is handcrafted by me, so
So maybe 75% maybe?
yeah.
Okay, so if you got to figure that out. Once if people are bidding too high for it and you're hitting words that are just a little bit too broad, if you can refine it, since you said you already have the data, which is you're way ahead of the game if you have the data, because you've tried it already. In some games, especially with AdWords, some people they do need to just kind of roll the dice and see where it all goes, and then they stop the campaigns and figure out which words are going to do better or not. In other cases, if you're more methodical with it, then you could do just 5 keywords at a time, all exact match, see how they work, shut off the ones that will bring another rotated in, and those are for really highly budgeted people. And every once in a while, you might want to throw in a modified broad, which will bring you some other words that are coming in there, kind of feed you with a little bit of information what people are searching. But it's on Etsy, is that correct?
Yeah.
So, yeah. One of the problems with a third-party site is that you don't get the data of what people are doing on those sites. So you might also want to consider creating your own landing page on your own website just for your product, and that's where you send the traffic to test and let them click on that. If they want to buy it, they'll go to Etsy then after.
I have my site set up there.
Okay, so you drove ads to your site.
Yeah, I've been driving ads to my site, and then with your tip, I have articles, and in the articles I have backlinks. I backlink Etsy.
Okay, so do you know how many?
Links to Etsy to buy.
Do you know how many people go to Etsy from your? Are you able to?
Etsy has tracking in it. You can tell where people are coming from.
Okay, so what you need to do though, you need to know which visitors used what keywords that ended up there.
And I have that. Yeah.
Okay, so you have that tracking where somebody searched superfine jewelry, and then they clicked on your site, and then if they clicked from there to that, then it told you that superfine jewelry person went to Etsy.
No, I don't think that. No.
Okay, because then that's what you're going to need to do to know at least how many people ended up on Etsy and how many didn't. Because you might get a lot of clicks going to your site, but if you don't know which keywords ended up having people going to Etsy, then you might have had a lot of tire kickers just come to your site and say, oh, that's cool and that. And you won't know unless you're really doing that type of research or setting out to do that. Unless you also sell it on the site. That's another way to do it so you know exactly. You set up a conversion tracking to tell you which keywords converted to a sale. That is the power, and it gets a lot more technical to go ahead and add that kind of stuff in there.
Yeah.
Not sure if AdWords people can help you with that, but if you're going to use them, you can call them and ask. They might be able to. But yes.
Let's do that too, Chris.
Yes.
Because I'm pretty familiar with your products. I remember when you came to the new hall workshop.
Right.
You definitely want to follow Teresa's advice. Get more pictures. Lots of pictures. People wearing your stuff. It looks real.
I did that.
The other part of that would be too. Anybody, and not just you. Anybody with little to no budget, go on with a product like yours, where it's like visual. Go on Pinterest. You can get tons of free traffic on Pinterest. Go on Instagram. You get tons of free traffic on Instagram. And that would prevent you from having to buy any ads at all, and you get floods of traffic, like Chris was saying.
No, I use those also, and I did take your advice. I found a very, a way on Fiverr.
Okay,
I
cool.
got it, and it looked great, so I'm just.
So are you doing Pinterest advertising?
I didn't do the Pinterest advertising.
Look
I had
into that.
I had somebody, who was good at posting Pinterest.
No, advertising, it's a messy, muddy platform right now because it's new, but clicks are like 5 cents. And it's look into Pinterest advertising. I promise you, there's, what is it called? I think it's called, I listen to so many podcasts, but they're all into different, but the more recent ones, there's, shoot. I'll look on my phone to see if I can find it. But there's a podcast recently that came out about a lady who's an expert at Pinterest advertising and how muddy that, even if you're an attorney, and you think, what would an attorney be able to advertise on Pinterest? It's so inexpensive right now, and there are ways. She gives strategies on this podcast on how to advertise even services on Pinterest. And so part of the strategy I remember is if you make a blog post, you get a picture, and your picture should have like some type of heading and captions on it that's going to be put on Pinterest that will tell people what your services are and put the benefit, like legal services, 50% off. I don't know, I'm making it up. Legal services 50% off, and that's going to be a blog post. Then you pin that to Pinterest as a promoted thing, and I don't do social media stuff, but as far as I know, that works.
Yeah.
As long as you're using that type of strategy from the Pinterest side, she is adamant, and she's like wholeheartedly just devoted to spreading the word that Pinterest advertising is amazing. And for physical product, if you can take great pictures, any niche, she said it can be done because Pinterest has a lot of virality. For those of you who haven't been around maybe for the last year, about a year ago, I was saying my traffic for one of my sites that I don't sell anything, it's just AdSense generated site. #1 source of traffic became Pinterest because of my wife. And then, what was it? I think 2 months ago, I think I shared it then too. She did something on Pinterest, and her ad revenue jumped like 4 times overnight just from her doing something that's on there. So then I told her to do it to mine, and she got overly zealous, and she got slapped by Pinterest for going too far with pushing the limits. She didn't know there were limits. So then she stopped and she said, okay, I'm going to study this better rather than just putting stuff up on there. But it works. Pinterest really, really works. And the thing is, it's about making, and she even told me she bought like a $2 app so that when she took certain pictures, she could caption it, and then that would be on Pinterest, and then from on her site, and then from her site she'd get it to Pinterest, and then Pinterest traffic would just go straight back to her site because it's connected. So yeah, Pinterest is an amazing tool out there, and I gotta get her to do my pet shopping. But every time she does it, I'm sorry.
Maybe she could have her
I
next
keep telling her, look, I'm gonna surprise her, I guess. Try to like trap her in here, or get her. I mean, the secret is you have to.
Then we can just walk here.
Well, what I'll do is I'll start saying things wrong, and she can't resist the urge to correct me. So let's just spill the beans, So I'll see if that works. Yeah, I'll see if not, I'll see if she can at least give me a whole guideline of everything that she's doing and she can teach me, because, like I said, it is another avenue that's becoming very powerful. And and this one lady, she's getting paid a lot of money because she's making business a lot of money using Pinterest advertising. So that's another thing. I don't.
Do you have her name?
I'm sorry.
Do you have her name?
My wife's name?
No,
The person that,
I do not. But as soon as I can't remember. The thing is, on my podcast, once I finish it, it goes back into the link area. So I gotta look through it and find it. But I know it said something. It's gonna say specifically Pinterest advertising on it. So if I pull it up.
For some reason, because I did look it up the last month when I was here.
Yeah.
I think it's called pins.
You mean the
Pinterest advertising.
Yes, they're changing it quite often, is what she was saying. But it is. It's promoted pins. That's what that she was using.
Yeah.
But they also have another ad tech thing, and because she's getting so good at it, she runs so much revenue to them. They're actually consulting with her on what works and what doesn't better. I didn't realize it was already this late. I'm Anthony, I'm so sorry, cut you off.
Oh, we're having a good conversation. Everybody learning something?
So before, my number one goal is to make sure if anybody comes with a question that they get an answer. So if anybody has a question that they came with and we didn't get a chance to answer, I'd love to have the
You're
answer.
gonna have you mentioned last time it was a possible tour of the fulfillment company in Sylmar.
Oh, yes.
I'd be keenly interested in that.
Okay.
Is it gonna happen, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the weekend.
I can hook you up with Rich Hall.
Yeah.
He's working with them over there. I'll get
Okay.
you his number, John. I got your
Did anybody end up going to that?
Yeah.
Tour?
Yes.
What do you guys think?
Oh, there was a tour?
Yeah, it was the week after. The
Oh,
weekend
I
after.
didn't know that.
9 o'clock on Saturday morning.
Oh, man, I would have been there. Jesus.
So, if anybody's interested in some of the podcasts that I listen to, one of it's called The Art of Paid Traffic. The guy is a Facebook expert, but he interviews all kinds of different people. And Top Marketing Strategies is another one I listen to. I think this.
It's on the website.
These are not, but you know what? I will throw them all up because the dog gets a lot of walking. So this is the time I get a chance to listen to things. And I hear a lot of great stuff. And there's PPC Playbook, that's another one I listen to. PPC Rockstars, landing page optimization. It's all about conversions. These are all different podcast shows that I listen to. But my two favorite is Smart Passive Income and Internet Business Mastery. Those are my two favorite that I listen to. But I'll try to find her on this again, and then I'll definitely will post it on the website. In fact, I'm terrible about posting to the website. You guys all know that. So what I'm going to do is I'm terrible at emailing, but I'll try to get it together and I'll email it. Because how many of you do not get the emails that I send out?
Well, if you sent one out on that fulfillment company, didn't get it.
I did not.
So there you go.
Yeah, I think I already mentioned it here. But
But they gave a presentation last meeting.
yeah, he was here.
The two men did, so that's how come that it started up. They told us about it, and then the following Saturday is when they had to open
He
house.
had like a flyer.
Yeah, so they were here giving the presentation.
No, John, he's tied in with that company pretty well. I mean, he'll definitely give you a tour if you want to go.
I'd love to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because, I mean, you're a business owner,
It
obviously.
seems like he would do whatever you needed.
Yeah.
Didn't you have that impression?
Yes,
Like
yeah.
he wants to, I guess, create business, but it's like you think of what you want and they'll figure it out.
Yep. Even if you get stuff like naked with no boxing, shipped in from China, and you want to have your own deemed safe boxing made, he has a printer already lined up that can do the boxing specific sizes. They'll pack it up for you, and they'll even ship it from there, so you don't have to store it, or he'll deliver it to you.
And
So
he
you
said
can-
he has good rates too for FedEx.
Yes.
From
I
China.
got a really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll send out an email, but I'll also post it at the same time on the meetup. So in case everybody doesn't get the meetup, knows. But the podcasts that I listen to, and if anybody else has any questions, just go ahead and send me this.
I still have the recording from the PPC from last year. I couldn't find email news. I couldn't find the card.
Oh yeah, I think it's at the top.
So if you want to take it off of my phone and send it to yourself, be my guest.
By the way, anybody who has any,
Yeah, good.
if anybody has any questions about analytics, what Alvaro showed us last week was absolutely nothing on what skill level the guy really has. I've worked with him for 1 week. He makes Excel spreadsheets when he's done look like computer programs. The guy is absolutely, and what he's showing me with analytics that I have specific data we're looking for that needs to be mined. Anything you really need to know about analytics, the guy can answer. Send me it. I work with him for the next 7 weeks. I work with him full time, and he loves to show me anything. He can show me tricks on it, and that's why he's great at teaching about anything. But one thing is, he's actually really I think his master's degree is in business analysis. So, I mean, like I said, he'll take data and he can tell you trends and charts and make buttons that when you fly over it, your chart starts to fluctuate based on months that you're going over. You can select certain months and compare them. All of these charts, the guy's amazing. So if you want any questions about analytics or how to do data analysis, send me them. Because he said he's always willing to share more, and I'm always willing to learn more about that because I was telling him we had a specific problem with a specific program at my work that we were trying to fix as far as sales were down. And I gave him last year's data versus this year's data, and he was able to tell me that that's not the problem. And everybody thought that was a certain problem, and the problem was the way that we were looking at the data. And the way our goals were set up, it made it look like that was a problem, but it was a whole other problem, way overspending. And I was figuring out that I'm way overspending by almost $200,000 this year because something he was able to show me. I had no idea. The data wasn't showing me that. So of course we're correcting it now, but nobody knew that it was being that way. And data is so important. So if you ever have a wish to look for higher data mining of what your website's doing, what your people are doing, what traffic is doing, send me questions, and I'd be happy to take a look at or ask him to take a look at it and see if he can help us. Yes.
I can't, I don't have to pull it up. It wants to start a new one.
Okay.
It's kind of all the things.
My name is Bobby. I'm sorry? Bobby. B-O-B-B.
Bobby. Steven.
Nice to meet you, Bobby. Maybe see you next week.
Yeah, absolutely. You take care. Thanks for contributing.
That was very good.
All right, so if somebody has any questions, I'll see you guys next month. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, you're from. Yeah, because your accent is very much.
It takes your article that's on your website and it powers up your Pinterest. Okay, so it's really yeah, but they sell plugins and it's also a way to.
No, he's right there in front of me.
Oh.
Yeah, definitely look into rich Pinterest.
Thank you for coming out. Thank you for sharing too. You really appreciate it. I learned so much from you guys out there.
Are you going to be recording this?
Yeah. Every time I come, I'll make sure to record or I'll have them do it.
It worked really well.
I know, right?
Yes, I still have it on. I think I just, no, it's not going.
Yeah.
It doesn't start, I mean, I just set it up.
It is like a 20-second delay or something. Yeah.
What do you use to do it?
I use YouTube. You hit upload.
Yeah.
When you go to YouTube and you upload a video, on the right side there'll be an option to go live.
Oh, really? That's it? And you just put the link on your website?
Yep.
Oh my God, it's never been easier, right?
Yeah.
And I have, this is through my cell, it's not through Wi-Fi, because I have unlimited cell.
Yeah.
So which is usually really bad, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's good, because usually Wi-Fi works much smoother, right? But it works great.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised. I was testing it on my phone. I was like, hey, it works. I know. This is awesome. I really like today's Meetup. That's a great information.
I know.
It's so small. Did you see our sign? It says you're being filmed.
Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah, I know. I saw that in my kid.
Yeah.
It was, that's way too obvious.
Well, I mean, you still have like four or five people up. No, they're starting to leave. There's like 7 people online. I sent the blast kind of late, but still, yeah, people were on. Thanks for watching. We're going to shut down now.
Bye-bye.